All right, good afternoon, everybody. I've got 1,300, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. On the screen up here, you've noticed you sat here for a couple minutes. I haven't put the title of this forum up. I'll put that up in just a moment. The title of this forum, what we're going to talk about today, is bringing your content into ForeFlight. Specifically, this is about your own maps, your own checklists, anything you would like to see in ForeFlight that we don't already do. This is utility for every single ForeFlight user. Has some extra utility if you're operating in a flight school, flight club, you're an administrator of that. So you can start to share some content, create some content that is unique to your operation, the way you fly. The reason I left this up here is when we start talking about custom content, sometimes the barrier to entry for a lot of users seems a little bit high. If you're not used to using things like GIS software, it's geographic information systems, it may be like, oh, this isn't for me, this is for someone else to do. But if you notice on my screen, I just made a little happy face there with my Apple Pencil. That's custom content. Now it's just the stupid little happy face I just drew, but the way ForeFlight works, that annotation is now geo-referenced and permanent on the map. So anytime I close the map, reopen the map, move the map, recenter the map, that annotation will always be there, and it is geo-referenced. So what that means from a practical perspective, I wouldn't use this to fly. One of the comments we get from people a lot is they would like to see like custom alerts. Something that tells you you're 20 nautical miles out from your destination. I want an alert to give me custom information. Maybe it's the ASOS, maybe it's the Unicom, whatever it is. What I do is on my map, I just take my Apple Pencil, I use my ruler tool to mark out 20 nautical miles, and I literally just write in the information I want as an annotation. Because it's geo-referenced, it will always be in the same spot. I know it's going to be accurate. I could zoom in, zoom out, and it will always be there. So at its most basic, this is custom content. Again, I'll be going through other examples of this. Some will be more complicated than that. But at its most basic, custom content is just your material that you would like to see in ForeFlight. So this is something that we usually, this is the first time we're doing this forum at OSH in a setting like this. Usually this is something that is a lot more in-depth. So the overview I'm going to give you is kind of well, it's a pretty quick once-over. We do this, we have military clients who come into our office and we spend an entire business day just going through how to build custom content. What I'll be talking about is stuff you can do using off-the-shelf software. I think in every example I'm going to use, it's all free software. So if you just want to mess around with it, feel free. You're not going to break anything. Again, I'm showing you stuff that's relatively simple, but these are things we do a little complex. We've worked with, well, the US military, Dutch Air Force, Polish Air Medical Rescue to make custom content to match their mission, match their operations, so they can bring stuff into ForeFlight that we don't have and make sure their pilots can use it. So again, this is the first time we're doing this presentation. If you have any feedback afterwards, I'd be glad to hear your feedback, positive and negative, about this presentation. If you'd like to learn more, we do have some webinars about this specific topic. So the reason I decided to come up with this presentation, so my name is Jeremy, myself and Dan, and we have a third team member who's not here right now. We are the customer education team for ForeFlight. So our job is to put on education seminars like this. If you recognize my voice, it's because I've done several of the webinars on ForeFlight. We work with our general aviation customers, our business aviation customers, our flight school customers, our military aviation customers. My background prior to joining ForeFlight, I taught high school for 12 years. I have a master's degree in geography. My master's thesis is actually about using geographic information systems to teach economics to high school students. So I had a background before I started in ForeFlight in using these technologies. And once I started working here, I was really interested in how you could leverage this technology to make flying safer or even just easier based on how you're operating. And there are ways to do it, like I said, that the barrier to entry is less than you think. Is everyone here familiar with Google Earth or Google Maps? Okay, if you can use Google Earth or Google Maps, you can make custom content in ForeFlight. So if you know how to use that software, there's just a couple little tips and tricks, but you can make it work. And again, you're not going to break anything. So if it's something that as I'm talking, this appeals to you and you'd like to just try it, just try it. You really can't break anything. So there's just some housekeeping stuff I want to go into before I jump into the meat of my presentation. We are currently in Forum 7. That's us, Forum Pavilion 7. If you haven't been over to our booth yet, we are in the Boeing Pavilion. To get to the Boeing Pavilion, you can use this map. You saw it up presented earlier. If you just open up ForeFlight, look at Whitman Regional, open up the ForeFlight airport diagram. We've customized the airport diagram for this week to include some sights and sounds of AirVenture. You can just use that to navigate. If you'd prefer just easy instructions, walk that way, make a left, keep going till you hit the ATC tower. You'll see a big blue building past the ATC tower that says Boeing on it in big letters. We're inside. So if you want to know how to get to the ForeFlight booth, that's where you can find us. If you have any questions, any account issues, would like to see features demoed, there's 20-something of us over there. Someone would be glad to help you out. Same thing with any account issues if you need any troubleshooting or anything like that. What I'm displaying now is the show schedule, the upcoming show schedule. On the left-hand side, this is what we have coming up. We have one more presentation today, but it's not in this form. It's over at AOPA at 1500. That presentation will be here, though. We'll be doing that one here on Thursday. So today I'm finishing up personalized content in ForeFlight. Tomorrow we'll be doing fundamentals and power users, which are the same two presentations we did yesterday. On Thursday, we'll be doing what's new in ForeFlight. So if you are going to be here on Thursday, that's where we'll talk about features that came out in the last year and some new features that we can give you sneak previews of that are coming out in the remainder of 2025. Among those, probably people are most excited for our dynamic procedures. We sent an email out to users on Thursday announcing it, but we haven't really done a whole lot of other content with that. So if you'd like to see how that works, you can come to the booth, we can demo it for you. We have some iPads set up there with some unreleased features, or you can stick around for Thursday and we'll talk about what that looks like. Thursday at 1300, Dan is going to do a session on optimizing your iPad. The idea behind that is if you don't have to be new to ForeFlight, but if you've ever wondered, like, do I have the best iPad for ForeFlight? What iPad should I buy? I'm going to upgrade my device soon. Which device should I buy? Which device shouldn't I buy? Dan will go through all of that and also talk about some settings to make sure your iPad works the best way possible for ForeFlight. We're going to repeat our fundamentals and power users on Friday, and then Saturday we'll be ending the show with teaching and learning. That's going to be my colleague Ryan Bolander, who is our education account person. So if you are a CFI, if you're affiliated with a flight school, or you're a flight or a student pilot, the teaching and learning might be very beneficial. It's basically how to use ForeFlight when you are teaching. It's especially helpful if you're a CFI or a flight school owner, because he'll talk about how those accounts work, how you can get discounts for your flight school and things like that. And then we'll end our presentations here at Osh on Saturday at 1300 with a repeat of the Optimizing Your iPad. So I want to show this. This is an event we're very excited for. I'll walk you through what this is. So I mentioned Dan and I, we work with our general aviation, our business aviation, our military aviation customers. About 2 years ago, we kept getting asks from our military customers to go to this base, that base, teach our pilots how to use ForeFlight. Because of the, let's say, kinetic nature of the military, they didn't have time to stand down and just teach new pilots how to use ForeFlight. So we developed this program, and the idea behind this program was a military unit would send a pilot to us. We would train that person. It's a 3-day extensive training in our Austin office. They would return to their unit as a subject matter expert. We've had similar requests from civilian groups, flight clubs, pilot clubs, flight schools. Again, we just don't have the bandwidth to travel everywhere across the country to present to 6 or 7 CFIs or anything like that. So we decided to test this program with our general aviation audience, and that's what this is. So if you're interested in it, you can scan that QR code. It'll bring you to a registration page. There's a chance it's already sold out. We are doing this kind of as a test to see what the market is, to see how enthusiastic the audience is for it. We do have limited seating, but our first opportunity will be this October in Austin, Texas, October 15th through 17th. If you are familiar with the area in that time of year, it's the best time of year to be in Austin, just weather-wise. It's also the same weekend as F1. So if you're an F1 fan, and we're going to come out for that anyway, 15th through 17th. If it is sold out, again, it's very limited because we have no idea. We're really just testing if people are interested in this. If it is sold out, I encourage you to register anyway, because then we'll have a list of who else is interested, who wasn't able to attend, and then if we decide to do it another time, we can make sure you're on that registration list. Anything else you want to learn about ForeFlight? If you've never been to our video library, you can access it at foreflight.com/videos. If you prefer YouTube, you can just do youtube.com/ForeFlight. You can find every video we've made. All of these presentations will be recorded. They'll be presented there in a week or two. So, and I say that because oftentimes during these presentations, people feel the need to follow along. And sometimes, because there's finite time, you might look down, look back up, and then be lost. So I encourage you to, you're welcome to follow along. I'm not going to tell you not to. You're welcome to take notes, do whatever you like. But you can also replay this at your leisure. If there is something about this presentation that you'd like to revisit, we will be reproducing these. If you got here a couple minutes early, you saw me fumbling around with a little microphone. That's what's being used to record. So the audio is better on the recording than it is in here because I'm using a separate microphone to do that. So again, however you'd like to engage in this seminar, please feel free, but just know these are recorded and they'll be up in about a week or so. So my agenda, these are the things I'd like to talk about. Custom content and how that relates to documents and document organization. Again, that might not seem like it's custom, but it is. If you use the Documents tab on ForeFlight and you've made your own binder, that's custom content. You've created a way to interact with ForeFlight that's custom to you. I'm going to talk about creating custom checklists in ForeFlight. I'll talk about ways to do it natively in ForeFlight, ways to do it using some other applications. So I mentioned that most everything I'm talking about is free. When I talk about the custom checklist, I will talk about some things that do require you to use Adobe Acrobat to produce. There may be free versions of that as well. I'm sure they exist, but I'll tell you what software I've used to create the stuff I'm talking about. And then lastly, importing custom content. So I'm going to start with my document organization. So is everyone here has used documents in ForeFlight? Okay, I'm assuming that's the vast majority of people. Most of us, I'm going to guess, access the FAA folder, maybe look at the ForeFlight folder. There's a lot of different ways, though. You can use that ForeFlight Documents tab and make sure it works for you and how you fly. And I'll show you the examples of how I use it, different things you can do. To access the Documents tab, very simple. We're just going to open up our Documents tab. And I just want to orient you to what it is we're looking at. On the left-hand side of the screen, this is our catalog. This will look different than yours because this has some of my custom folders already created here. You can see I've made a custom binder for POH. That has the POHs for the aircraft I'm flying. I have a binder below that called Study. This is material that I have saved that I want to use for studying purposes. This could be a FAR-AIM, this could be some flight school documentation, whatever. I've set this up to work that way. Just below that, where I have Add New Binder, if you've never used this workflow before, Add New Binder, it's pretty self-explanatory. You'll add a new binder where you can sort whatever documents you would like to add. You can add as many as you like. There is no restriction to those. Just below that, this is another area where this may differ from what you see versus what mine is displaying. So imported, I just want to explain the difference between these because it's really easy to mix these up if you've never messed with this before. The imported drive, this is any document that I've brought into ForeFlight. So this could be a PDF that I dragged and dropped from my desktop into ForeFlight. It could be a photograph of something. It could be anything. That's the imported drive. The cloud drive is a cloud drive that I've linked my account to. So the cloud drive accounts, this is, I would say, vital if you're operating in a flying club or a flight school, because you probably have documentation that is unique to your organization that you want every single pilot to have access to at all times. It could be an SOP, could be a custom checklist. Lots of different things it could be. If you're not using cloud drives and you are in an organization like that, you really should take advantage of this functionality. This allows you to put, and I'll go into more details, this allows you to push documents, push updates to your users without manually having to check, manually having to download anything for them. Below that, oh, is there a question? I'm sorry. Yes. So the question was, the documents stay in the imported folder even though you put them in the binder? The answer is yes. So the binder, this is just organization. So my study binder here will have FAA materials. Those still exist in the FAA folder. So it's just a substructure in the structure. One doesn't preclude it from being in the other one. So right here, this is just whatever drives I have available because of my ForeFlight account. Again, mine will look different than yours. As a ForeFlight employee, because I have a business account, I have every single region on Earth set up. Where it says missing drive, you'll probably never see that. What that tells me is I've changed cloud drives, and when it's synced, I had some data on my device that wasn't on the new cloud drive. Whatever drive it is I'm looking at will be presented here on the right-hand side. This is my ForeFlight drive, so I'm looking at my ForeFlight mobile material. Anything that has a green check mark, you can see I have a couple of these. Anything with a green check mark means this is downloaded, it's backed up, and it's up to date. There's another function that's happening here that, again, is not super clear. It happens in the background every time you download something. So if I've told ForeFlight, I'll use this as an example, that I want to have the ForeFlight weight and balance guide. And I've told ForeFlight I want that because I've tapped on it and it has the green check mark. Any time there's an update to that document, it will automatically be updated in my documents folder. And this goes with FAA documents, this goes with, if you're in the military, DoD documents, it goes with all of our ForeFlight documents. If you were using a cloud drive, it would go for them too. So if there are documents you would like to access, just make sure they're downloaded. You can then use binders to organize them however you want. Across the top, just really quickly, some options I have here. I can change if this is displayed as thumbnail icons. It can be a list. The settings tab there will allow me to invert the chart colors, and then edit would allow me to individually delete some of this stuff. If I'd like to add a new binder, I can do that by just tapping on Add New Binder. You see I have the option to add a custom binder name. I've just renamed this one ForeFlight Training. You'll see this as 0 items. So if you are, so I'm still a student pilot. I've done everything but my check ride, which was supposed to be scheduled in February, then March, then April. Is currently supposed to be scheduled September 15th, but I think I have to cancel that already. So I still am studying and training and all that. So I've created this new folder for ForeFlight Training. I'm going to look in my imported drive, because this is where I know I brought some material in, and you can see I have a whole bunch of stuff here. Some of this stuff is actually saved in multiple places, but I have a whole bunch of different, why did that happen? I'm sorry. I have a whole bunch of different stuff saved there. I'm going to jump ahead to where it was. Somehow that got messed up. Almost back. There we go. Look at my imported drive. And if I want to add new documents, again, this is all custom content stuff. Has anyone imported stuff into ForeFlight? Okay, a handful of you. Can I ask what method you used? Just dragged and dropped? Okay, so the easiest way to do this is what this gentleman just described, is just doing it exactly like you do with any other desktop folder. This does require you to use a Mac to use it this exact way. There are some methods to get around this if you choose to use a PC. You can also just email it to yourself, open it in Gmail on the device that is ForeFlight, and then add it that way. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to drag something from the right-hand side. You can see I just have a desktop folder there named Manuals and Resources. And then I have my iPad. It's just hooked up the same way this is, just USB-C to USB-C. I'll drag that. I think I drag, oh, it's called Private Pilot Cheat Sheet. I'll drop it in ForeFlight. And the beauty of this is you don't need to do anything else. ForeFlight can recognize the type of file that you imported over and will automatically save it where it's supposed to go. You don't do, for this, you don't need to do any additional formatting. Once I've dragged and dropped that, I get a pop-up on ForeFlight that reads, where do you want to save this to? So this was a document called Private Pilot Cheat Sheet, and it asked me, do you want to save this to your documents or to your flights? I will save this to my documents, and there it is. And I can interact with this the exact same way I did anything else, be it an FAA publication, Canadian government publication, a ForeFlight publication. ForeFlight doesn't know the difference. So if you are using SOPs for a flying club or a flight school, this is a really good method to bring those onto your device. And I'll talk about some more efficient ways to do that in a moment. The button I'm tapping on here, this is my Add to Binder button. You can see I have my 3 custom options. I'm going to go ahead and add this to ForeFlight Training. Now ForeFlight Training is populated with 1 item. I can see this as a green check mark next to it. That means it's saved to my device. If and when this document is updated, it will automatically be updated. I'm just going to go through my other binders here. My POH, these are the POHs for the aircraft I fly. I want to call your attention to the one on the far right. Well, actually this one too. I think that was an accident. The one on the far right has various annotations marked in there. ForeFlight will save your document annotations. So if you don't have a digital scanned copy of your POH, I recommend making a digital scanned copy of your POH. You can upload that to ForeFlight, and then you can mark it up with notes, annotations. You can use the performance calculation pages. You can delete the annotations as needed, but these will save. So I've gone ahead and I've opened up the Tomahawk POH. This is the primary aircraft I trained in. You can see at the top, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back. These are the tools available to me. I can adjust settings, adjust how it looks. I can adjust the view to see multiple pages at once. The annotation icon lets me annotate it. If you're using an Apple Pencil and you've already configured your Apple Pencil with your iPad, it will automatically open annotations once you bring the Apple Pencil near. At the very bottom, I'm sorry, in the center of the screen, this is what I'm looking at. At the very bottom, I can see that this is page 1 of 213. So if I need to, I can scrub through and find what I'm looking for. So what I'm doing is customizing this POH for my purposes. Obviously, I'll probably just remember the page number I'm looking for, but I want this to mimic how I would use a paper copy as much as possible. It's just the way my brain works. If I tap on the search bar here, this is going to vary based on how you scan your document, whether or not it had, I think it's called OCR, when Adobe reads the text and can predict what it is. So you might be able to just search your document for a particular word. This one was uploaded with the table of contents intact. So I can use the table of contents to navigate to a specific section I'm looking for. Or what I've done is I've added bookmarks for the parts of the POH that I may reference regularly. So here you can see I just have a reference to pedostatic system, electrical system. More importantly though, I have my takeoff performance, all my figures that I can use for making these calculations. If you did want to do these by hand. These bookmarks are custom content. This is my content. It's no different than if I put a little post-it note in my POH. Once I navigate over to any of these are always here. I do want to caution, this would be unchanged. This would work exactly as it works today. It'll work the same way 6 months from now, 2 years from now. If you're putting bookmarks into government publications, the page numbers of the government publication may change. If that page number changes, your bookmark may change. Just be aware of that. It's a common point of annoyance for people. There's only so much we can do. But if it's something that is going to unchange, like this will always be in the same spot. So when I'm doing my flight planning, I will still do this stuff by hand, even though I'm 99% certain everything I've already planned is fine. I do want to make sure I'm using the POH to manually do all this. So I just tapped on my pencil icon there. And if you have an Apple Pencil, this will automatically enable that. And I can just annotate this with this specific calculations. So this is my fuel time and distance to climb. I've done all the book calculations there. I've done everything. I've annotated this. Now, in the past, I might have printed this out, had this with me before I flew. I can do all that if I choose to. What I'm going to do is a little bit different. I'm actually going to, I can't really show how this looks, but what I actually did was take a screenshot of this. So I made my annotations and I took a screenshot. So now I have a PNG or a JPEG of my annotations, including my distance, time, and fuel burn during my climb. If I navigate over to my flights tab, and I'm a premium or essential subscriber, I just want to highlight that, I have the ability to add a file to my particular flight. So whenever, I don't remember what flight this was, but whatever flight this was, I can add that to my flights tab, to an individual flight. I'll show you how I can access that in a little bit. What I want to show with annotations was there's an individual came by the booth just yesterday and was telling me how annoying it is, what I just mentioned. When the publications change, his bookmarks moved. And I told him, I was like, well, your annotations basically stay in the same place. The bookmark page numbers are moved, your annotations will basically stay in the same place. And then he was like, well, I have to keep flipping through it to find where I made annotations. And generally speaking, that's true. However, on my view here, if I change my view, this is going to be a multi-page view. At the very top, you'll see I have the option to filter by annotated pages and bookmark pages. So if you're using something like a POH or any document, if I tap on annotated, I can just see every page I annotated. So this is very, very helpful if you're using a POH for a purpose like this or some other type of document. It saves a lot of time of just going trying to find the last place you were at. I'm going to go ahead and reopen. This doesn't change. This will not be deleted until I delete it. So this will stay until I choose to get rid of this. I'm going to go ahead and tap on Done. I mentioned earlier I had taken a screenshot of this. I can't really demo that live because it doesn't show anything. But I saved this to my flight. So this is, okay, so this is across country from Georgetown in Central Texas to Dallas. It's a little difficult to see, but it does say one file there. When I tap on this, any image I want to can be saved to this flight. So I've just opened up, this is all the photos I had on my device. I'll select that, I'll select Add. This is now saved forever as, let's say, an appendix or an addendum to my flight. This will never go away until I, Jeremy, delete this flight. So if you're running a flight club or you're interested in something like that, or if you're running a flight school, or even if you just want to make sure for yourself that you've done all your briefings and you keep all of that data for auditing purposes or even self-debrief, this will always be there. So 6 months from now, someone is like, hey, that flight from Georgetown to, where was it, Dallas? That flight from Georgetown to Dallas, how do you know your performance calculations were correct? Because I save pictures of them and they're appended to that flight and will always be there. So it's a really powerful tool. Again, I haven't actually done anything outside of the app yet. I want to talk about Cloud Drive integration. This is something that is available to our premium and essential customers. If you're a business account, I believe it is already set up, but if you've never set this up, you have to set this up first on the web. So if you go to plan.foreflight.com, this is ForeFlight on the web, on the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to click Documents, just like you did on ForeFlight Mobile. We're going to navigate over to the Cloud Drive. And the Cloud Drive, if you've never set this up, you'll be walked through a step-by-step, this is how you set this up. These are what we support: Box, Dropbox, OneDrive, and Amazon S3. Most folks use one of those. OneDrive is probably the most popular, with Dropbox probably being second. The workflow for setting these up is almost identical regardless of the service provider you use. You can see up here the options. So what I want to highlight here is if you are a group who are sharing a cloud drive, you'll notice that this has options to sync documents. If you're the operations manager or maintenance manager or something for a flying club, and you want to make sure that every single pilot has maintenance docs or whatever it is, you can upload that to the cloud drive. You can select automatically download, you can select automatically sync, and they will have it on their device even as you make updates. Once it's integrated, so here I've changed the name of this to Customer Education Team. Once this is integrated, you will have all these documents across your organization. You can make a change on the cloud drive, and 30 seconds later, that change will show up on that user's device. You can do this for yourself too. if you're not sharing with other people. But if you would like to share content you've made with other people or documents with other people, this is the simplest way to do it. It's great for organizations, schools, the military uses this quite a bit as well. So that's basically an overview of custom documents, how you can take advantage of those tools. I want to talk about custom checklists. I'm going to guess this is not a majority, but how many people use the ForeFlight checklists before they fly? Okay, so it's not a majority. So I understand the reasons why you might not want to use it. If you've never messed around with it, if you're flying an aircraft that's a popular GA aircraft, we've probably already built that pre-flight, mid-flight, post-flight checklist for you. So if you'd like to integrate more of a paperless cockpit, I would give it a try, maybe not on the day of flying, maybe just take a look at it if you've never taken a look. I'm going to talk about customizing that a little bit. If you've never accessed it, there is a checklist tab. If you don't see it, tap on More and you'll see checklist there. The checklist tab, it looks just like this. Any checklist that you've already told ForeFlight you'd like to use is presented on the left-hand side. The right-hand side will be the checklist you're currently viewing. So if we look at my example, we can see I just have a generic 172 Skyhawk I use when I'm demonstrating things. I have my I am safe checklist. I have an EFB pre-flight checklist. I have the Tomahawk and the Archers I fly. I have another safety pre-flight briefing checklist, and then I have a Cessna 172 another 172 Skyhawk. If you'd like to add a checklist, and this goes for custom checklists or checklists we've pre-built, tap on the plus sign. What I want to highlight here is you'll notice a bunch of aircraft listed. If your aircraft is listed, we've already built that checklist. You don't need to do anything else. Now, if it doesn't match exactly what you're expecting, you can make edits and make small changes, but you can just, it's just alphabetical. It's most common GA aircraft are already represented there. What I'm going to do is say, this is a semi-true story, but it's already kind of fallen through, is I was interested in investing in a third share of a 182 in Central Texas. So let's say that deal had gone through, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to fly with the ForeFlight checklist in the 182. I'll go ahead and start searching, in this case, for 182. I can see all the different variants. Let's say this is the one I'm looking for. It's the 182S Skylane. I'll go ahead and tap on that. You'll see I have a tail number option. I have a custom name option, and I can add some more descriptors. What's going to happen here is once I hit done, the manufacturer's checklist we preloaded. So this is not a custom checklist per se, but it's personalized to me. These can be edited, but this is based on the manufacturer's information. If you fly an aircraft that we don't have the checklist pre-built for, you can email us at team@ForeFlight and just ask. I don't know what the turnaround time is on that stuff, but I'm sure someone would at least look into it for you. So I'm going to go back to my checklist list because I don't actually, let's assume that the checklist that ForeFlight created there is correct. I'm going to go ahead and look at my basic template. So this is just going to be the bones of a custom checklist. That's all this is. I'm going to hit basic template. You'll notice I have the option to give it a tail number, a name, and description. This checklist I'm creating is for me. It is not related to a specific tail number. This is the checklist I make before leaving my house. So I'm just making this before leaving house. I'll go ahead and hit done. And all I'm going to do, and this will take some time, if you're interested in it, if you have an hour, I would mess around with it, see if you can get it to do what you'd like. So we can start adding, by default, we'll always see normal, abnormal, emergency. Edit is going to be the edit option. Whatever it is I have loaded in here is what we're currently looking at. The items are pretty similar. It's going to be challenge, response. That's basically how it works. Across the bottom, you have the ability to reset every checklist item, reset an individual checklist item, speak the checklist item, skip or mark it as check. If you hit speak, it's neat. It's a neat little tool, but it doesn't actually wait for you to respond. It will just verbally speak it and then move to the next one. It says if it's a co-pilot, but if you say like, wait, hold on, it will just keep going. So it's something that's the limitation of it now. It's interesting, but it doesn't have utility in every example. So if I'd like to make one from scratch, I'll just go ahead and click on edit. I can edit my list. you'll see this little icon has come up here where I can delete this or start making changes to that. I'll make changes to that. I'm going to make this titled flight bag. I have my list and my options here. This is in the normal group. It's not abnormal. I can duplicate this list. I can start making changes. So I'm not going to go through every single item I'm adding, but I just want to show you an overview. As I'm adding it, you'll see this is my item here, is flight bag critical items. I'm going to start adding individual items here. I'm going to talk as I'm just expanding this. So this first one here is ensure your iPad is fully charged. That's the challenge. The response is charged. The next one here is ForeFlight status. Ensure the most current version of ForeFlight is installed. Weather briefing. Ensure you've received the weather brief within 3 hours of departure. So this is something that I do before I leave the house. I run through this checklist. Flight plan, file flight plan as necessary. And you can see I have all these other ones. Some of these are pretty simple. Backup battery, handheld radio, personal minimums. Somewhere on here I had sunglasses too, but I lose those constantly. So the checklist doesn't help with that. So this is how you would go ahead and do this. This jumped backwards again. I don't know why. This is skipping ahead. Somehow this skipped several. I'm just going to go back again. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is where I left off. Sorry about that. So I can make any changes to this I need to. I have the ability, new check item just allows you to add new ones. This is my last one, is just flight bag. Verify, license, ID, sunglasses, flashlight, pen, pencil, kneeboard, etc. Once I'm finished with this, I do have the option to share this. So this shares out in a checklist format that ForeFlight can read. So if you're operating in a flight group and you've taken the time to make a checklist for your group, or even, it doesn't have to be a group. If you're flying with some pilot buddies and you've taken the time to do this, you can share this checklist with others. So just tap on the send to icon there. You can send this via a file. You can just email this to people. This will be read natively by ForeFlight. What I want to do is look into my Documents tab, and I had this up earlier, but I didn't explain what it was. So this is something that I created, and you'll notice the name I gave it is Custom Interactive PDF Checklist. And I didn't allude to it at the top of the hour, but all the custom content I'm showing here, I'll show you a link where you can download it. So if you'd like to build off of these and not start from scratch, this is probably a really good one, is the idea of a custom interactive PDF checklist. I just used Adobe Acrobat for this. It's read natively by ForeFlight. And I'll show you what I mean by a custom interactive PDF checklist. So I went ahead and I made a personal minimums checklist. I just took the, we've all seen it. I'll just show the full screen. We've all seen this before. I just took this, a PDF of this I found, opened it up in Adobe Acrobat, and you can see that I've edited this to match my personal minimums. So this is Jeremy's personal minimums checklist. And then I've just added these check boxes here. So as I go through, I'm going to check, 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 check. It does take a little bit of HTML coding, but you can find out how to do it online. And I've already shared this example with you, so you can just make those individual edits. What's going to happen is effectively every time there's a check mark in one of these boxes, that's me telling myself, you're good to go on this thing. If this whole column is checked, the text here will read go. If a single item is unchecked, it will read no go. This is very, very simple, but I just go through and I check, 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 check. Again, this is just my personal minimums pre-flight checklist, and I will share this with you, but obviously your personal minimums will be different. And the text color here I chose doesn't have enough contrast. You can see it now says go. The idea behind this, in my mind, is I've created this checklist. Before I fly, I open up my iPad, read through all my minimums. So you can see I have my crosswind minimums all here, all that stuff. Double check my weather brief, and then determine, am I comfortable going? Not what the minimums are, not what the legal minimums are, am I comfortable going? Once I check everything off, it will say go, go, go. There's an option for flight date here. So I can go ahead and save that to I can save that flight date just like before. I can append this to a planned flight. So let's say I fly a cross-country flight. It doesn't go well. Let's say I have a close call or something. After the fact, I may want to debrief my own minimums checklist. Maybe I'll find out that I violated one of my own minimums and I just don't remember. So again, as a flight instructor, as a member of a flying group, or even just as a pilot who wants to, for himself or herself, make sure you are doing everything you planned on doing in order to stay safe. It's a really helpful thing. This is another one I created. It's just using Adobe Acrobat. The basis of this was FAA's flight risk analysis tool that they publish. So I took that document. I didn't take 100% of it. So this is meant to be a demonstrative sample, not something you would actually use. But again, this is all shared with you if you'd like to use this as the basis for a FRAT document for your organization. The way this one works is it's slightly more complicated, but it is just very basic HTML coding. Is I have these questions here. Less than 50 hours in aircraft and avionics type, true, false, true, false. Those entries, this is a binary entry. That entry will be tied to a number, a points value. And if the point value is above a certain number, I'll receive a notification on this document saying you can't fly. So I'm going to just walk through how that looks. You can see just marking off false, true, false, etc. At the top, my point total is calculating. This is all done in Adobe Acrobat. I mentioned earlier as a high school teacher, my background is in geography and social studies. I am not a coder, I'm not a programmer. The amount of time it took me to learn how to do this was less than an hour. It's just very simple HTML coding. So I've gone through my FRAT checklist that I created. You can see at the bottom, my total risk value is 25. I probably don't want to fly today. So I probably have violated whatever minimums I've established for myself. But again, mileage may vary on how you use this. I'm going to go ahead and attach this to my flight. And just like before, this is now saved to my flight as a record. And I can delete this if I want. This is my data. This is saved to my flight as a record of what was going on that day that I flew. So if you're using documents like that, so like I just demonstrated with some interactive custom checklists, you can save them to ForeFlight Mobile whatever way you like. I shouldn't say a lot of us. I personally prefer to do this stuff at my home office on my PC. I don't like doing things like this on an iPad. I just find it constraining. I prefer to use a keypad, a mouse, and a big monitor. ForeFlight will sync back and forth between mobile and web. So if you prefer to do this from the comfort of your home or the comfort of an office, it'll sync to documents. You don't need to do all this in ForeFlight Mobile. So I mentioned that I have these examples that I would like to share with all of you. This will take you, I'll leave this up for a little bit to make sure you can get to it. If you point your camera at the screen, this is just going to direct you to a Google Drive link. That Google Drive link, I believe, has 3 different items in it. 2 of them are just folders. 1 of them will contain those interactive PDF checklists. There will be another zipped file that's a custom content pack. I'll explain what custom content packs and how those work in just a moment. If you're having trouble getting this, I'll leave this up for another, say, 50 seconds. If you still can't get to it afterwards, let me know. I can send you the link one way or another. The QR codes, by the way, this is a very good way to communicate and share documents with people if you don't want or can't use a cloud drive. Just create a Google Drive, set the sharing settings to anyone who's in your club, in your org, in your group. Create a QR code, print it out, and just have them scan it. This is really good. If you're not going to be using cloud drives or don't have that level of, you might just not want to invest that time to manage it and be the one to take responsibility for it. This is another easy way to share stuff, just using a QR code. Because all it does is just call to a Google Drive link. Okay, so now I want to talk about how do we import custom content that we've created. So far, all I've done is basically text stuff. I've done documents and interactive checklists, things like that. I want to talk about how we can do this on a map. So there's not a ton of detail I'm going to show here because you kind of have to do this. Again, this will be shared with you, and I'll talk through how it's done. But if you've never actually sat down and engaged with Google Earth, the UI is pretty easy to learn. You're also not going to break anything. Worst case scenario, you'll end up with a bunch of different files you don't need, and who cares? So on the left-hand side, these are the softwares that we suggest people use when they're making their own custom map content. Google Earth is the most readily available. Google Earth Pro, that's the desktop version. That would be my #1 recommendation, but the browser-based version works very similarly. Google My Maps is the easiest one to use. Google is constantly removing features from Google My Maps though, so it has been deprecating it over the past couple years. So things that used to work on there no longer work. It still works though. So Google My Maps is very easy to use. Google Earth. Google My Maps, by the way, if you've never accessed it, is tricky to find. It sounds weird, but if you go to Google Maps is not Google My Maps. They're two different products. If you want to engage with Google My Maps, you have to Google the phrase Google My Maps, and it'll show you, it'll redirect you there. It is not Google Maps, it's a map builder, not a map viewer. QGIS is the most robust of these tools. It is 100% free. It's shareware. It has the highest learning curve though. So if you have time and you'd like to learn how to become a wizard at doing all of this stuff, this will include making your own custom approach plates if you want to do things like that. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do in QGIS, but the learning curve is steeper than the others because it's shareware, it's free. There's lots of tutorials you can find online though. I would recommend if you want to learn how to do it, pick a task that you want to learn how to do, find the YouTube tutorials, and budget a day, maybe 4 or 5 hours to learn how to use it. If you've never interacted with any GIS software, QGIS is a very difficult wall to climb, but if you have some familiarity, you could go there. ArcGIS is the most robust tool, and at least when I got my master's using GIS stuff, it was the industry standard. It's also really, really expensive. If you have the money and would like to buy a license, more power to you, you'll be able to do a lot of stuff. Just be aware it's very expensive. If you work for the government and somebody has already paid for a license, just use that one, because it's a very expensive tool. I think it's over $1,000 a year. But in all of these will do basically the same thing. And all we're going to do is create a map layer, and I'm guessing everyone here at some point has opened Google Earth and drawn lines on it. That's all we're basically going to do. Anything that can be exported as a KML or KMZ file can be natively read in ForeFlight. So we're gonna make some custom map layers, we can make some polygons, some waypoints, export that as a KML or KMZ file, and it will be natively read by ForeFlight. So what I've done here, and I'll zoom in because the contrast on here isn't great. This is the training area in which I operate. So what I did was I drew a couple of range rings around the airport I operate out of. I believe I made these 135 nautical miles. So these will just exist as shapes. So when I import these into ForeFlight, they'll just be there as shapes. If you look to the right of that, I have my VFR training area. So when I open this up in ForeFlight, I'll see my own ship as I'm flying. I'll see where I am relative to the VFR training area. This is also very simplistic, so I'm just using a handful of shapes. You can make this as complex as you like. To the right of that, I have the IFR training area, and I've overlaid on here the common KAUS arrival path. So as someone who's trained in this area, it's drilled into you to just be aware this is where the commercial aircraft are coming in. Don't be doing steep turns and stalls right in that arrival path. Be careful of that. So I just overlaid all this, and all it is shapes. These are just shapes that I've gone ahead and just drawn on my map. Excuse me. It's a little difficult to see on here. This is why it's helpful if you just do this and check it out and mess with it. All the tools I'm using to do this are all along the top. The little push pin, that's a waypoint. I can make a custom waypoint. To the right of that, the little polygon, that's a polygon. I can draw a custom polygon. You do have the option to enter these in via coordinates if you choose to do that. We just enter in a different coordinate for each vertex each vertice, that's the plural, right? I don't remember. Each vertex or whatever, you're going to enter in the latitude, longitude, and it'll draw that polygon. I've just done it. You just right-click on the map. I know which highways are the boundaries of those training areas. In the center here, I did add a little push pin, a little waypoint. So this is going to label this area as VFR Training Area East. I've included additional information. So the way Google Earth works is each of these little points. So you have VFR Training Area, Echo, IFR Training Area, Echo, then I have the text underneath. You have the option on there to add additional data, add additional information. If you know how to do any HTML coding, you can do a whole bunch of stuff with that information. You can color code it, you can make it bold, you can change the font type, all of that. I've just gone ahead and put this little pop-up in. So I have the elevation of that area, 775 feet MSL. I have the altitude for ground reference maneuvers in that area, 1375 to 1775. I have tower frequency, and I have the CTAF for the next closest airport. So all of this information is just going to be saved here in Google Earth. I'll export this as a KML or KMZ. ForeFlight will read this natively as if it were an airspace layer on ForeFlight, as if it were a TFR layer on ForeFlight. So this is just, I want to show here, you can see the text looks a little different. You can just put this in as text. If you're not comfortable doing things like HTML, you can just write in text. ForeFlight will read the text, it will appear as a text box. If you do have some comfort with HTML, you can change how this appears to make this easier to read. So in my imagination, this was not given to me by my flight school. It probably would have been helpful if they had created it, but I created this for myself. But if I share this with anyone else, I can rest assured that that information will be displayed, and it will be displayed in a relatively easy to see manner. So this is something that we actually use at Sun and Fun last year, but I'm sharing it with you guys this time. We didn't share it with them last time. So the idea behind this was when you're flying into Sun and Fun, the NOTAMs they publish have a lot of text, and the text has a lot of descriptions. And Sun and Fun's simpler than OSH, that's why I use Sun and Fun. But the text has a lot of descriptions on how to fly. And it will say things like, fly east 11 miles past this highway. At this point, you'll see this landmark, then turn left, things like that. It's a lot of text. It's not impossible to remember, but there's easier ways for us to do it. So I created this. I can imagine someone creating something like this for a fly-in event or any group gathering, or again, training purposes. And it's just a series of waypoints. So all these are our waypoints. This is just that push pin function on Google Earth. And then for each point, I just appended some data. So what's very interesting about Google Earth is you can append imagery. So for this one, what I imagined was, okay, if somebody's flying this arrival, this is the Lake Parker visual approach in the Sun and Fun. I'm going to have my friend Carl's going to fly this. He has never flown it before. I can create this, he can load this into ForeFlight, it'll load all those waypoints. All those waypoints are already in ForeFlight, so you might think it's a little redundant, but I have appended a picture of what it should look like at that waypoint. And the actual NOTAM for that point, I believe, if I remember correctly, says fly west, you'll see the baseball fields off your left wing, fly past the baseball fields. This is what more or less, yeah, there's the baseball fields. This is what that should look like at that waypoint. So either pre-flight or en route, probably pre-flight makes more sense. I can get an idea of what to expect as I fly that route. So this is back into ForeFlight. I've just gone ahead and I've opened up my custom content. Custom content, once it's loaded in, is not saved anywhere special per se. There is a custom content tab, but on the map, it's just going to be displayed here with everything else. You'll notice I have a ton of stuff. So we work with lots of clients, I make lots of custom content for them, and I have to test it to make sure it works. So that's why I have things like offshore oil platforms, Northern Gdansk, etc. What I'm looking for are these two. I made my KGTU Training Area East and my Lake Parker visual approach. This is that training area. One of the things you'll notice is sometimes, and this takes some experimentation to figure out what works and what doesn't, the way the waypoints, the way those user points display, the iconography may change from Google Earth to ForeFlight, Just be aware. It doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It's just not everything is readable one-to-one. But in ForeFlight, there are my range rings I created around Georgetown. There's my training area, VFR training area echo, IFR training area echo. There's my arrival path that I made on Google Earth. This is the information I popped up there. So as a student, if I forgot the information for VFR training area echo, I just go ahead and tap on that. I have my ground reference elevations, I have my GTU tower, and I have my CTAF for the other nearby area. For the other one I made that had the imagery in it, I've just shared this the exact same way. So on Google Earth, when you're done, there's an option that says save as or export to. All you need to know is that it has to be a KML or KMZ file. ForeFlight can read it. So I've gone ahead and exported the Lake Parker visual approach. I've exported this as a KML file. These are the individual points I made on Google Earth. I'm going to go ahead and tap on one, and in ForeFlight, I can see the imagery I appended. So this is really, really useful. It's also just kind of neat. If you wanted to take a tour of something, you wanted to look at, I don't know, national parks or stadiums or something like that, just get an idea of how you can add this. You can take a photo out of the plane, turn your track log into a KML, share that with somebody else, and they can reproduce the flight that you flew or somebody else flew. So once you have these loaded in, you can route plan with these the same way you would anything else. They're just tappable aeronautical map elements. So I just have all of these individual waypoints loaded in. If you're not flying, or I'm sorry, if you're communicating with a panel, the custom waypoint names will be translated into latitude, longitude. So you won't see on your panel, whatever I name this, the baseball fields east or whatever. You won't see that. You'll see the latitude, longitude. So I wanted to talk about content packs. This URL will take you to our support page for content packs. So content packs, what they are, is a way to create multiple types of custom content and share that out at once. The reason this support page, I want to mention this, is there are some restrictions with how these documents are named in order for ForeFlight to read them correctly. This support page will take you directly to that documentation. I'll also explain it, and I've also shared with you, if I haven't shown you that yet, I've shared with you example content packs where you can just change the content and leave the names the same, and it will work identically. But there are some naming conventions that are required. If you'd like to learn more about content packs, foreflight.com/support/content packs. If you get very good at this, I know several people have little side hustles where they make content packs for other people. We're not going to say anything to you if you want to do that and make some money off that. So what content packs do is this allows you to combine custom layers, custom waypoints, custom plates into a single exportable and shareable product. So custom layers, that's what I did with my Lake Parker arrival. That's what I did with my KGTU VFR training area echo. Custom waypoints are exactly what they sound like. It's making a custom waypoint to be used in ForeFlight. And custom plates are if you have, if you're operating out of a private airfield that has some non-published approach procedures and you'd like to build those plates, you can do that. And you can, just same way you use ForeFlight to view those plates as georeference, we can view georeference custom plates. Content packs themselves are easily shareable via AirDrop, email, Cloud Drive. I think I have mine saved to a Google Drive. The time it takes to explain how to format the custom contents is too long to do in this session, but there are some specific naming conventions required. The version I'm sharing with you has all the naming conventions correct. You can just change the content, leave the names the same, and it will work. On the other link I showed you, I'll go back there. On this link, we also have empty content packs that are pre-named, where you can just drop your material in. And as long as the names are followed correctly, everything will work as is. Any custom content you have on your device can be viewed here in the custom content tab. You can see that I've created content pack EAA 25. That includes, and I'll send you the Google Drive link to this in a moment, that includes that KML layer I made for the training areas near my home airport. That includes that Lake Parker visual approach with those appended images. That includes a training plate I made for Georgetown. That training plate's actually very lame, but it's a really good example of how you can georeference basically anything you want. It can be, you can draw on this floor a map of something, and as long as it's representative of something that exists on the Earth's surface, you can georeference that and bring that into ForeFlight. So one of the demonstrations we always do with our military users is on the first day of our event, we host a happy hour with them. We invite them to a nearby bar. And then when we're doing our little site brief to tell them how to get to the bar, we draw a map on the whiteboard. We take a picture. We georeference that. It takes us about 5 minutes because we do it a lot. We georeference that. We share that with all the users. They open it up, bless you, they open it up in ForeFlight, and they can navigate using ForeFlight from our front door to the bar. Once you know how to do this stuff, it takes minutes to do. If you've never done it before, again, the learning curve can be a little steep, but we do have a support team to help you. Userwaypoints.csv. If you've ever made a user waypoint in ForeFlight, there's a common complaint people have. You guys may not have encountered this, but if you make a user waypoint in ForeFlight, simplest way to do it on the map, tap, hold, save, change the name, boom, it's a waypoint. ForeFlight doesn't discriminate with your waypoints, so you might have thousands of user waypoints you've made, and it might be irritating to you. If you use this format by using a CSV and uploading the user waypoints that way, you can easily navigate between different categories of waypoints. So you may have like a training exercise for the month of July, and then you have set waypoints. You may have vacation in the month of November and have a different set of waypoints. This would be the way to organize that. Again, you can follow the formatting I shared with you. This is the QR code for that. This will bring you to pre-formatted content packs that include the things I've demonstrated and shown to you. Those things include that KML layer I made, the Lake Parker visual approach I made. There is one georeference plate, but I think it literally just has a piece of paper with my hand markings of things that are nearby. I think I included a lake, like a trailer park or something. I can't remember what I actually included. And then a user waypoint CSV file. And this is just, I believe this directs you to a Google Drive. To import the content pack, it has to be zipped. I think I included the zipped version with you. If you do run into any problems with custom content, team@foreflight.com. We have people who sit around and just do custom content. We have a Slack channel of people who work on custom content that anytime a question comes in that somebody can't answer, it goes in the Slack channel, and there's usually some of us who can. So it literally just came up. I was here at AirVenture. A military user had an issue with some custom content over in Italy, and I saw on Slack, I was like, oh, this is how they fix that. So we do have a team that is very excited about working with custom content. We are working to make this simpler for users, so you don't have to use Google Earth, you don't have to go to third-party applications, but it's really, really powerful. A couple last things before I'm gonna wrap up here. This is our map again. If you forgot where we were, head out there, make a left, walk towards the ATC, walk towards the tower, keep the tower at your back, you'll see the Boeing building. We are inside. Just outside the Boeing building, you'll see this little icon on the map that says Runway Retreat. This is something new we're doing this year. It's kind of, I guess, a social pop-up. Inside the pavilion, if you want to talk about the app and ask questions and see demos, we got people set up for there. Outdoors, it's like a ForeFlight branded. It's a nice little area. We got some Adirondack chairs, some popcorn, water, things like that. Upcoming show schedule here on the left. We are done for today in a couple minutes. Tomorrow in this same pavilion, we'll have fundamentals and power users starting at 10. Thursday, what's new, optimizing your iPad, starting at 10. Friday, fundamentals and power users starting at 10. And then Saturday, teaching and learning, that's for CFIs, flight schools, flight students, starting at 10. Show specials, new and upgrading subscribers, 20% off. If you're renewing premium, it's 10% off. We have deals on Sentry Plus. Sentry Plus, we're selling those this year at the Sporties booth, not at our location. Sporties just is better with the retail side of that. This is that email I had suggested earlier for you, team@ForeFlight. Any issue you have with the app or your account, please email us. We have people on frequency 24/7. Every member of that team is a pilot of varying experience. Most of them are very, very experienced. And we do have folks located all around the world. So any question you have, that's the simplest place to get in touch with us. So I did wrap up a few minutes early. Does anybody have any questions? Anything you'd like to see? Yeah.
Is there any way to make a document a less scratch pad?
Ooh, very good question. So you're talking about making a custom scratch pad. So the short answer is no. There are some workarounds though. So how many people here use the scratch pads in ForeFlight? Okay, so this is a feature request we get quite a bit. So you're not the first one. We'll take a note of it though and bring it back that, hey, this came up again. Lots of people have scratch pads that exist in a specific way that they want to use. What the basic workaround for this is you can make any edits to any scratch pad, and then you can append this. You can save this to your flight file, save this to your iPad files, save this to your flights. Whatever you've made on the scratch pad, the saved version will be unchanged, and then on the scratch pad tool, you can revert to the previous version. But the idea of using your own format in the scratch pad, again, it's come up, it doesn't quite work. What I'd recommend doing, how are you, what is there a specific type of document you're looking for?
Like when I was learning holds, I did like a whole like worksheet type thing.
Gotcha. Sure. Yeah, the best workaround for that, especially if there's already a pre-existing format, is use documents, annotate it, save it, either as a screenshot or that annotated file, erase it for the next time, and then redo it. But yeah, it's a very common request we get. I don't know if there's a technical holdup for that, or if it's just we don't have the bandwidth to do it, but we'll take a note and bring it back that it's come up again, because it does come up frequently. Military too, same thing. They want to be able to have their custom scratch pads. So. Yes, sir. Ask me that again, I'm sorry.
Is the Google Earth import?
Okay, so there are several different custom content tutorials. The simplest way to find them is just Google ForeFlight custom content, and you'll find them. Now, they are probably on YouTube, but it may be easier to find on our library. But if you just Google ForeFlight custom content, we've done at least 2 webinars in the last 2 years on them, and you'll find redirections to there. In the pilot's guide, we have all this information in the pilot's guide as well. So if I navigate over to documents, I'm going to go to ForeFlight pilot's guide, search, let's do custom. I don't know where this went, but it is in the ForeFlight Pilot's Guide also. I just searched for custom. I don't know why this didn't navigate me directly where I want, but it is described step by step how to do this in the Pilot's Guide as well. Just search for custom content in the Pilot's Guide, or literally Google the phrase ForeFlight custom content. You'll find the webinars either on YouTube or our site. I don't know. I just don't know which one is the easiest one to navigate. Any other questions? Yes. Okay. Okay. Okay, and you were using it on the iPad or on the mobile, on the web? Okay. That shouldn't happen. It should automatically be saving as you go. I'm just going to select one here. So this session, we're not offering Wings credits. For the other sessions, though, it's still the same QR code. Yeah, that shouldn't happen. How long ago was that?
3 years ago.
Okay. What I'm going to tell you is not going to be ideal. But if you can replicate it and then tell us immediately once it's happened, it's soon enough we can pull the data and see what happened on your device. because we can pull diagnostics about why that happened. There shouldn't be a separate save function. So when I was just messing around, I'll do this again. It should automatically, if I do basic template here, yeah, so as I make changes, this should automatically save. The only caveat it doesn't sound like you did this. If I was still in the edit window, when I closed it, it wouldn't save. I'd have to hit done. But it sounds like if you built the whole thing, that would only maybe be true on the last item. So that's not supposed to happen. My recommendation would be if you try to do it again, do it on the website just because it's easier sitting at a desktop with a keyboard. That'd be my recommendation. Then if it happens, again, I know this is an ideal answer, but if you can tell us when it happened, we can pull diagnostics from the sync and see, okay, something failed in sync. And then either solve the issue and hopefully find your data. So we have 4 more minutes. Any other questions? All right, so we'll be back in here tomorrow at 10 a.m. If you're headed over to the AOPA Pavilion, Dan will be on stage at 3 p.m., so in about another 45 minutes, and he'll be talking about optimizing your iPad. Thank you guys for joining us, and enjoy AirVenture.